All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited. It's been great this year getting to know Bill, getting to know others. I direct the Food Law and Policy Clinic at Harvard Law School, and as part of our work this year, we've also been organizing the Dean's Food System Challenge at the Harvard Innovation Lab, which is sponsored by the Dean of the Law School, Martha Minow, and also Dean Frank from the School of Public Health. So I know there was a slide earlier about that, but it's really putting a challenge out to the university to figure out, with all these smart minds here among our students, can we come up with innovations that would make the food system healthier, more sustainable, and more equitable? So I'd like to start actually I love getting in front of a group of non-lawyers because it's a really great chance to educate people about what lawyers are and are not, and kind of put a different spin on, I think, what a lot of people expect. So I think just wanted to explain what a clinic is in the law school sense, and then also briefly about what as lawyers we have to bring to the table in the food space. So a clinic in a law school sense is sort of like a clinic in medical school or something like that, but the idea is that we're getting students, it's an action learning program for students, so we have both a service-oriented mission that's outward-facing. We work on projects, we work on a range of issues in the food system, on increasing access, on improving opportunities for small-scale and sustainable growers to participate in the food system. But we're also educating law students, and we're helping them both get involved, get the skills to be involved in the food system, but also they're learning transferable skills about just being creative problem solvers. And I think the other thing to say about being a lawyer in this space is that not all lawyers go to court and sue people, which is probably like the image of lawyers that most people think of. The way that we work, actually, we don't litigate at all. We use our legal skills to help empower communities and individuals and partners from other disciplines so that they understand this field, and then also to change policy and figure out where's the law that's making this happen. The other thing I wanted to say is that this field is really growing in law schools. I think Harvard is at the forefront, so you'll hear later today from my colleague Jake Gerson, who directs the Food Law Lab at Harvard Law School. We're doing great. It's been incredibly exciting, but in separate research I did over the past few years with a friend of mine, we were looking at the growth of this field across law schools and saw that at the top 100 law schools in the US, at that time, this is 2-year-old data, 20 law schools had now food law and policy courses that are pretty new. I mean, this is in the past 5 years or so. So it's exciting to be in this space. It's exciting to see it grow. It's another interest of mine. Our clinic has 4 major areas that we work in. One is really empowering food policy councils and citizen groups that are trying to take control of their food system. We also work on increasing food access, very consumer-oriented and health-oriented work, and on sustainable food production, which includes both incentivizing people using better practices and also trying to figure out how we can change practices that might be more harmful to the environment or labor or animal welfare. But I'm going to talk briefly as one case study on our work around the issue of food waste. So this is an incredibly important issue, I think, growing in terms of the amount of people looking at it and interested. There's actually a couple of New York Times articles in the past 2 days on this topic, just how this issue is really impacting the United States and the global food system. In the US, we waste about 40% of the food that we produce. So if you look at this chart, that 40% of food that we end up throwing away makes up 25% of water use, 4% of oil use, tons of pesticides and fertilizers and other agricultural inputs, and then it goes to landfills where it makes up more than 15% of methane emissions, which is a really potent greenhouse gas. So this is a huge problem. Aside from the environmental side of it, we're also living in this country right now, nearly 15% of Americans are food insecure, meaning that they don't have access at all times to enough food for a healthy, active life. So this is a really big issue, and we've been working on this, particularly in the legal setting. So we published a report a year ago that was really looking at expiration dates as one piece of this puzzle. Many groups, governments, intergovernmental agencies, the UN, the Natural Resources Defense Council, who was our partner on this report, had said expiration dates seem to be a problem. Someone should figure out what they mean and why they're leading to so much waste. So we took this challenge on, and I just want to show you a little bit of what this looks like to do research in a legal context. So we started at the federal level, and what we found, which may not be surprising to everyone here, but is surprising, I think, to many Americans, is that there are no federal regulations on expiration dates. So those dates you see on food, best by, use by, sell by, there are no federal laws that limit what that language is, that require it to be set in a certain way. They're just completely really up to companies to set those. And in fact, the Food and Drug Administration has chosen not to regulate because they've said this has nothing to do with safety. And we're really in the business of regulating around safety and things that are misleading, but this doesn't really arise to something we're concerned about. So the interesting legal research came when we looked at states. And you can see here and also on this map, we mapped out what states then regulate. And what we found was that 41 states require date labels on at least one food product. And if you can see, I know you can't see all the little icons, but at the bottom you can see how many different food options there were for what states regulated. So here in Massachusetts, we regulate the most. We require date labels on a wide variety of foods. Some states require them just on, say, milk or seafood. And then states like New York and 8 other states don't require dates on anything. And then this map then shows which states restrict sale or donation of food after that date, and that's about 20 states. So again, on these dates that are not related to safety and are not regulated, people won't allow you to sell or donate them afterwards. So this, I'm not going to go through in so much detail, but this leads to significant waste. We don't have great data, which is really one of our primary recommendations, that the U.S., like other countries that are concerned about this, should be monitoring and following data on this topic. We have data from businesses in 2001, $900 million of food was thrown away before it was sold because of dates expiring. 15 years later, that has to be way more than that. And then, as I said, this date is not linked to safety, and in fact, there's not been a single instance of foodborne illness linked to eating food after the date, yet 90% of consumers have said that they've thrown food away on that date because they're afraid it's unsafe. And many people also will eat food up until the date no matter what happened to it because they're fearful or they believe that the food is protected, like that date is a special halo that makes it safe until then. So this isn't contributing to safety. So as a clinic, our role is really to get involved. We're now working on implementing these. We're working on federal legislation. And relatedly, we're working on some other policy issues, particularly tax incentive and liability. So thank you very much.